your criticism that secularists should not devaluate religion, which brings me to the second point. As you know, the big debate here in the Netherlands at the moment is the movie of Geert Wilders, of which he is, free to do it. Would you be on the side of people who encourage him, or on the side of the people who discourage him to do it?
No, I am on the side of people who discourage him, but that doesn't make such an important difference. I mean, it depends on the reasons.
Why would you discourage?
Yeah. Look, I mean, let us take apart constitutional and legal issues related to this announcement and political issues. And don't confuse a position you take on one domain with a position that you take on the other domain. There is no doubt, I think there is nobody in this room who would not agree to the constitutional principle of freedom of press as one of our most important and usually even trumping basic rights. That, I mean, in terms of conflict, very often trump other basic rights. That is clear. Secondly, how to apply freedom of press or free speech, whatever. I don't know your constitution, I'm sorry, but we have here the Minister of Law and whatever. I mean, yeah. I mean, there you have to see, are there competing rights that might be violated in letting Mr. Wilders, who might have very good reasons, publish his film. He announces in a certain way, obviously with the intention to arouse and polarize public meaning. Yeah. Anyhow, I mean, this is at least the effect, and it's hard to think that this effect is not intended. I mean, so then we have to see, are there competing rights? I mean, usually it competes with Ehrenschutz. What is it? Libel. Yeah? Persons can be hurt. Sometimes it's public order, which is hurt. I am not a lawyer, so I mean we have here the expert, and this has to be proved purely on legal terms, and we hope that both the minister and the courts, if it comes to that, handle that correctly. Yeah? I mean, there is prima facie no doubt that they will. And on the other hand, politically, what do you think if you take a stand on this announcement in the public sphere? And then my first and only question would be, why would you, Mr. Wilders, think it is necessary to continue the provocations you had in this country with very severe consequences? This is a totally political question. Why? What is the reason? Look, in 68, we had students, my own students too, who were systematically violating certain rules for the purpose of provocation. Now, I mean, I think politically, at that time, most of them had very good reasons. I mean, I can talk 1 hour about it. I mean, namely the thematization of very relevant issues that had been put off the agenda for 2 decades. a certain behavior of a certain kind of press after a student was shot dead, and so on and so on. They had good reasons. So they could have answered the question, why do you provoke? And I don't know. Maybe there are people who can tell me.
Questions? Yeah, please go to a microphone.
Mr. Habermas, I would like to ask you a question which is...
Introduce yourself first.
My name is Harm Sijs. I live in Amsterdam. Could you, from your... as a both scientific and religious person, would like to ask you the question, could you, from your heart, from your work and from your life, and maybe even more specifically from your soul, speak to what has driven you in your life in doing your work in the world?
I don't know whether I could do it, but I won't do it. I see. What has driven my work, I must say, there are certain obvious political events that my generation faced. I was 15 by the end of the war, and I don't have to tell Dutch people about the problems then, so moral problems. And then I had the chance to have a good teacher, and I became interested in philosophy, and so I found my path. But it's not up to me to describe that path. Yeah.
Thanks, Willem van Hasselt, working for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and having taken part in the EU Nexus project 2 years ago. A question to Professor Habermas and a proposal to Rob Riemann and Nexus. No. Well, we'll see. Professor, suppose you were to travel on to Istanbul or Ankara today and were to be asked to give a speech in a circle of intellectuals that take part in the fascinating Turkish debate on secularity. I mean, it's without precedent in that part of the world. Would you simply be able to make the same speech? Would you use the word post-secular? Because by now we are used, let's say, for 10 years to the word, we're prepared now to think about it. But would it be possible? And Rob, you didn't want to...
No, just keep it to the question.
Okay, right.
No, yeah. No, my answer is very simple. I will attend such a conference in the first week of June in Istanbul, and I plan to give that speech. Of course, no, with the term post-secular and all that, but maybe with a few context-sensitive remarks. But I mean, you know that I prepared this lecture also for the Netherlands, but the basic arguments, of course. Why not? But I really don't quite understand why I should.
Next question.
Hi, I'm Joost van der Burgt, a master's student here in philosophy. First of all, thank you very much for your insightful lecture, in which you mentioned religious discourse a couple of times. And that is, of course, very important, given your theory on communicative action. But I was wondering, as Mr. Riemann already mentioned, Wilders movie, for instance, in my view, talks about the political discourse of Islam, the political Islam. When we go into constructive debates in this country with the Islam, it's mostly about the theologian or the official discourse of Islam, while all the people living here in the Netherlands, all the Muslims, you could say that is a different discourse of lived religion, of lived Islam, which is very elusive and which is very different